Awesome. Okay. So, why am I here? What is my purpose? I found out my purpose while I was sitting there. Not as divine purpose, but just the purpose of here. My job is to bridge the mindset, the personal branding, to now the business. So let me tell you my story. 2004, got married, decided, like most brides, I want to be a wedding planner. I had a wedding planner. We sat and talked, and I became a wedding planner, 2005. And 16 years later, I'm still at it, slowly trying to get out. 2000, backing away as fast and slow as I can. 2018 was the best year and the worst year. The best year, I had 4 other planners working for me. We had process and procedures. We had things down. They all got burnt out. Halloween of 2018, my husband collapsed on the floor and died. I had to, that was the 30th, 2 o'clock in the morning on the 31st, I had to let him go because there was no way he was going to come back. So, how does process and procedures and getting that in place help your business? It is that part right there. I had a team in place. I could then say, here's the processes, here's the procedures, now go to work. It had happened once already. My mom is in the hospital, passed away. We were able to slide everybody to the next wedding. I'm like, why do you have to die during wedding season? I mean, my God. But, it's got a clicker. So, process and procedures, your small business tasks, all of these things help you to the point of if something drastic happens, you have something in writing to take care of that. You don't have to think about it. My husband had his own business. I had to call his business probably 2:30 in the morning. It's in St. Louis, so it's 4, saying, somebody call me. We've got a problem. So it's not a downer, it's just life. So having processes and procedures in place will help you with life. Mindset. The gentleman was driving me here yesterday afternoon. He's like, well, what have you been doing for 2.5 years? How are you surviving? Because I don't have any, I have very limited clients. Said, 1, I want it that way. And 2, I've been working on my shit. Because you have to. You have to do that, whether somebody dies or not. I've been getting that warning from 2016 until today. You have to work on yourself. So mindset is a thing. The vision she talks about, that's something you review every year. What's my vision? Is the vision still the same for my business? Just like wedding professionals, you're changing who your ideal client is. You work with somebody that season, you're like, oh, F no. I'm not gonna, and what made me work with that person? Is there something was that part of my ideal client? Was that just part of who I was? When you're going through shit, you're gonna get shitty clients. I've seen it happen. So vision, that is something you review. Same with your values. I look at my values every year. Are these still the same values I want in my business? And most of the time, they're the same. There may be one that goes in and out, depending on what I'm feeling at that point. Your branding. It's all the things that you guys put out there. You want to be professional. You want to be detailed-oriented. All of these things that are unsexy. I am not up here telling you about flowers and how to make things all pretty. I was a planner, they called me the taskmaster. So my superpower is, guess what? Taskmaster. That's who I am. I am an introvert, and I'm not quite a super J. So if you look at Myers-Briggs, I'm an ISTJ. I like details. I like putting things down on paper. I like that. If you're an introvert and go, well, I can't speak. Yeah, you can. I'm up here doing it. I love people. I love that. But how I get my energy back is I'm going to go home and take a nap because I'm tired. So what you're going to learn today is the best practice of assessing what you do as a job. What do you do for every day, every week, every month, every year? What are those things? Strategizing how to strategically take your day-to-day workflow and make it into a routine. Make it easy for you to work at. That's why you have those lovely handouts. Is that first one on small business tasks is really the best way to look at assessing your stuff. What do you do? It's not everything, that's what I do. You look at it and go, okay, what can I add to this? Or what can I take off? Your workflows, we're going to talk about that. How to identify tasks to automate. I mean, if you can automate your business, there is more freedom to do things that that are in your zone of genius. I mean, we talked about the things that you do that you're capable of that you don't like to do. Well, that's what I do. That's what I do. And then outsource. Know how to outsource and how to delegate. I had a team of 3 people, 4 other planners. And I knew who was the best at what. So we could delegate. So the best practice for assessing your processes. Sit down and actually write them out. Whether you use Toggle, whether you just write them out on a piece of paper, and this is what I do. This is what I did on Monday. This is what I did on Tuesday. It's a pain in the effing ass. But to sit and figure out what do you do. Because there's days, even for me, what did I do today? I mean, you get to the end of the day and go, was I very productive? I felt like I did nothing. We'll go through and I say, okay, yes, I did. So what are those things? So you see here, daily, you're looking at financials, your day-to-day business, your operations, your customer service, your client experience. What does that look like? And then, of course, your marketing, social media, all of that. I mean, it's really boring. It is really boring shit. Because guess what? Monthly, we just added HR. Oh my gosh. So HR, do you have employees? Or do you have contractors? What are those you need to do with them that you need to do on a monthly basis? Maybe you do it weekly. How do you do business? I'm here to give you ideas and thoughts, but I don't run your business. So these are things that will help you. Oops, I got HubSpot back. Quarterly, again, everything is still the same. Maybe there's taxes. I mean, financials could be taxes. Quarterly could be taxes. It's, marketing. You're looking, maybe you're looking at your last quarter's numbers. How did I do? What's my Instagram look like? What does my LinkedIn look? I mean, now that we have the tools for LinkedIn, that's something to start tracking. I mean, Chrissy's going to go into details on your social. And I'm getting them all back for tomorrow. You have to know your numbers. I mean, we don't have a QuickBook person here, but yes, you have to know your numbers. And the numbers aren't just your financials. It's your marketing. What's the ROI on these things? What's the ROI on being part of a networking group? All of those things come into play when it comes to your business. And then, as I said, HR, maybe you do quarterly reviews. Maybe you talk about what's going on the next quarter with your team. I try to leave it very broad so you guys can take it down to your business. Yearly. I didn't add this one in here, but I added onto my notes. You've got to review, year-end close. So what does that mean? You're looking at your website, you're looking at your ads, you're looking at, again, your social media. What does that look like for you? You're looking at, we're looking at HR. Do you have year-end reviews? Are you doing something at the year-end? Are you looking at your mission, vision, and values? what do you do? How do you do it? And are your values the same? Again, HR, website. Does your website still speak to you? Does your website still speak to your clients? Does your website have broken links? Does somebody click on something and it doesn't go anywhere? Where does it go? Those things, like I have a ton of stuff. When the Knot merged with Wedding Wire, I lost a ton of links. So now I have to go back and do that. If you're putting your media on there, those podcasts, those articles, are they still going back to where they need to go? So really you're like, this is no freedom and no abundance, that's for damn sure. I mean, I'm telling you, that it isn't, but when you do it and it's done, you've now gained a whole book of how you do business. You can hire more effectively. You can bring on your clients more effectively. You can do so much more instead of just running around with the wheel. What did I do last month? What did I do with the last client? What did I do the last quarter? I can't remember. I need to hire somebody to do this. I don't know what I want them to do. You can put your SOPs, standard operating procedures, are more about bringing on people, both clients and employees, than it is about you. Because they see you as the expert. If you can come in being the expert and having these things in place, you're gonna look like a freaking rock star. When I had my planners were out and about talking to other wedding planners and doing all the things, talking to other wedding professionals, it always came back to, well, you guys seem to have all your shit together. I'm like, really? Have they looked behind the curtain? And the reason why they think I had all my shit together is because I had these. They knew my team knew what we were doing, and they then imparted that onto our vendors and then on to our clients. So it's a pain in the frickin' ass. I'm not gonna say it's not. But when you do it, it will be so much easier. So the strategies. So I just talked about take the time, get the workflow, systems, process and procedures, automation, outsource. That whole little life circle I have for you, that is what it is. So as I said, take pen to paper, use Toggle, use whatever time tracking thing you do. I mean, I had a coach that, she had a little sheet of paper and I sat down and did it one week, every day. How many minutes did I work on client A, client B, client C? How many minutes did I work on my business? And at the end of the day, you're gonna realize you don't work on your business enough. And so this is a working on your business project. As I said, it's unsexy, it's a pain in the ass. I'm not gonna deny it. But you get it done, you're gonna have so much more clarity on what you do. You're gonna have your brain, just think of the four of us. By the time you get to this, you're like, okay, I know who I am. I know how I wanna run my business. Now, you're not gonna feel any different, but you're gonna have a better sense of who you are in your business. So, time tracking. As I said, take the time to do what you do each day, and then do that every month. When's your month end? When's your month beginning? When's your quarter end? When's your quarter beginning? What are those processes around each of those things? Now, then here comes year end. Are you a standard January to December? Or are you running off a different, for those of you in corporate, is your financial year different than the actual year? Most small businesses are year to year, January through December. So you're like, okay, take the time to do this. Now what do I do with it? I'm sitting here with 12 sheets of paper with all my tasks, what I do and how I do it. Well, now it's like, okay, what can you do with this information to now look at automation? What can you automate? That's why I give you the small The systems of what you do, because you're going to now create a workflow. So this becomes the next step. You take all those tasks. What's your financial workflow? What does that look like for you? What's that first of the month look like? What's the end of the month look like? Do you do anything different? And you can tie this in with marketing. You can take your financials and your marketing, because your social media numbers. So you're going to take your big numbers and your social media numbers, and you're going to say, okay, this is how I did this year, or this quarter, this month. You can even go down to a day. But you're taking all of this information and you're saying, this is how I do business. January 1st, I go through, I'm probably even doing this beforehand. Let's just say I take 2 weeks off in December. I might take one of those days and say, you know what, it's a business day. How did I do on my goals? Are we there? Are we not? What do I need to do differently for next year? What are my goals for next year? What do I want it to be? What are my financial goals? What are my social media goals? What are all those things? Then the next 3, you're doing all the time. You're doing day-to-day operations. Do you have a Monday? I have a friend that says it's Money Monday. So all of her transactions she does on Monday. So what are your day-to-day operations, things that you do? And then what's your client experience? This is boring when you say onboarding and offboarding. But when I say it's client experience, it's a whole nother story. And same with employees and contractors. You're looking at, I've got a whole bunch of stuff on here. I'll go back to this. Financials. When do you accept payments? When do you pay bills? I accept all my payments on the first of the month. I used to do it where they signed on the 15th, they always paid on the 15th. They signed on the 12th, they always paid. You're just chasing money. I put it in there, you pay me the first of every month. And it's automated. It's easy. I don't have to worry about it. It's, he just passed away, but it's the set it and forget it. Same with payroll. My girls knew that they got paid after all the checks cleared. So that was probably the 5th, the 6th, right around there. Figured all that out, they got paid. Taxes, same thing. When do you pay your bills? Are they the same? Are they the first? Mine are right around the 20th. And it's all of them. So I'm good, both personal and business. With marketing, your social media. The wedding pros you want to love. The one thing that I think we did differently than all the other wedding professionals or planners in our area is we had a quarterly list of who we wanted to love on. Besides just your love of, I sent thank you notes after every wedding to all of our wedding professionals. So great working with you. Can't wait to work together again. Then the same with the wedding pros. Every quarter we had a different list of people. Who did we want to love on? Did we want to send them a gift? Do we want to meet them for coffee? What did we want to do? You're looking at your potential client collaterals. What are you giving to your clients? Electronically and paper. And then finally, your ads. And I guess you can even put down networking. Are your ads and your networking, we're talking about this at the table. What are those networking opportunities? Are they working for you or are they not? But you're also writing them down to know, this is what I do. I'm creating process and procedures for an interior designer right now. And I'm like, I want to know where you're networking, because she needs to be visible. And she's not. So what are your processes around networking? And the same with employees. What are those processes? Client onboarding and offboarding, your client experience. It starts even before you get hired. How do you accept their information? Do you have a CRM for it? Do you not have a CRM? You just doing it by an Excel spreadsheet? That's fine. How do you do business? It's the contracts, it's the payments, it's the welcome packet. It's the boundaries and expectations. It's your best practices. I think we were talking about that. It is, I give them a sheet. It's not in my contract. They do have to sign it at the first meeting. Here's how I, as tailored events, group does business. It has our hours, where we meet, how we talk. What are those? Do we talk via email? Do we talk via Honeybook, Dasabo, whatever, Slack? Whatever you want to do, how do you do business? Here is how we set up those meetings. Here's how we deal with you if you are not communicative with your other wedding professionals. It is not my duty to make sure they hold that date because you're slow on paying them or picking them. It is not my problem if they do not give you a discount. I will ask, and it's in there. I will ask for a discount, but it's up to the client. It's up to the professional to accept that. It's not my job to make sure you get a discount. And it is your job, couple, to not be an ass to my wedding professionals. It's true. It says in there, if you are not a slow payer, but if we ask for them to hold this date and you're 2 months out and you still haven't said anything, that is not my problem if they've already booked somebody else. If this lovely DJ over here gets hired by somebody else because my clients are a bunch of slow butts, it's not my problem. And then on the wedding day, what's your wedding week look like? Is it just them? Or are you meeting with other people? What's your wedding day look like? All these things make you look like you've got your shit together. I have an example in there. If the bus shows up and they leave, and we've already said last call, we've said the last call in the closest bathroom, we said the last call somewhere else. The bus leaves. These people show up out of nowhere. What are you doing? Having fun on the golf course? Sorry, you got to find your own bus because the bus has already left. So those things to put in there are so important, whether you put it in your welcome packet, whether you put it in your contract, whether you make it a separate sheet and they sign it, and you have a copy and they have a copy. It is so much more beneficial. I know when I don't do that with my clients, because there's times I've forgotten. I don't like to be talked to via text. I had a groom just texting the shit out of me, and I'm like, F and A. I said, dude, I didn't call him dude, but I need you to send this via email. I cannot plan your wedding via text. And then what did I do? I freaking printed out those goddamn texts and put it in this binder. I'm like, Ugh. So anyway, so it's really how you work is the best practice. And I think if anything out of today, if you get that out of it, I am happy. This is so much more near and dear to my heart. And then offboarding. What do you do to offboard? What do you do when they are done? They're still a captive audience for you, per se. Write them a thank you note. Ask them for an evaluation. I had a full evaluation for them. It was like 3 pages. How did we do as a company? How did your planner do? How did your vendors do? Because if your vendors were crap, you want to know. If they got less than a 4, I might be calling them up. Dude, what happened? Can I use you as a referral? You want to know that. Can you give me a testimonial? And they had that, and I had that in the email when they got the evaluation. Best way to show love to me is to, as small business, as a letter of whatever. But I had the links to my Google. I had the links to my Knot. I had links to Wedding Wire. I had links to all the places that I wanted to do reviews. Because then you can use that, your reviews, then go back up to marketing and become marketing material for you. So getting these testimonials, and then if you do a referral program, it's a way to get them on the referral program. If you refer a bride to me or a couple to me, and they book whatever package, they get X. And I even bribed them for getting the evaluation back. I'm like, if you send this evaluation back, I'll send you $25 for whatever at Nordstrom's. I don't care. I wanted that information. So your workflow is more than just, it is in depth when it comes to onboarding and offboarding clients. Same with employees and contractors. Those are the people that you are bringing on, your VA, your bookkeeper, your other planners. We had training sessions, we had all of that. So what does that look like for your business? I mean, I should have packed my book, but it's never done. Your SOPs, it will never be done. It's a living document. So don't be discouraged if you, like I look at mine, I'm like, oh, I kind of stopped at that. Systems, I'm like, I know what I do. But the systems is now the workflow. Is that all in HoneyBook? Like I'm putting all my workflows now in HoneyBook. So when somebody sends me an inquiry, they now, if they select a certain thing, they could go to 5 different areas. And that workflow then becomes how our first communication becomes. And people are like, oh, I'm just sending this now. I don't need you right away. I'm like, that's just an automation. I'm not even talking to you. But they think you're talking to them, and that's great. If you make people like, I don't want to do automation because it's so impersonal. It's only impersonal as you make it. You have to be part of that. You have to put your branding into that. So look at your CRMs, or client relationship management system. So that's your HoneyBook, that's your DeSabo, that's your 17 hats. That could be your Excel spreadsheet. I'm not gonna knock it. I still use an Excel spreadsheet for my sales because I want to know I have X amount of sales I need to meet. Here's who I talked to this month. Did they book? If they didn't, okay, why? Do I need to go back and look at my first step of what's the communication look like? So what systems do you currently have? Do those systems meet up to how you are doing business? How does your workflow? Do those systems work? Finally, is there any new cloud-based systems that you can use? So as I said, CRM, social media. Are you using Buffer? Are you using Tailwind? Whatever. That's why I have the list of systems for you, is so you can see other options and see what works. If you have a full pipeline and you want to change, make sure you have your workflows in place before you start DeSabo or any of that. Because I had somebody I was working with on website, and all of a sudden he's like, I want to change DeSabo. He's changing it midstream, and I'm like, you're going to have a hard time, dude. And he had a hard time. He's like, oh. I'm like, yep. You've got to have your workflows in place to know what, especially for a CRM, to work effectively, to have those workflows in place. And you can go in and change them. That's the thing. Don't be afraid to change. Like I got to go through. I went through, and I'm like, somebody contacted me, and going through, I'm like, ooh, I don't like how that works. So how do I fix that? So don't feel like once you do this, I got to be here. No, work on it. Make it improvements. Work it for yourself. Because you're going to change. It needs to change with you, and they're flexible enough to do that. So now it's the famous, what do we have left? So you've taken your all the small business tasks. Here's what I do. Then you've made it into the workflow. Then you looked at systems. Okay, these systems go with this workflow and this. Okay, now let's get the book together. This is what your process, this is your standard operating procedures. This is how you do business and why. It's everything in one place, and it doesn't have to be a binder. You can put it in Dropbox. You can put it in Google Drive. You can make videos. You can do anything just as long as you have something. Onboarding clients, future employees are easy. So you're not always recreating the wheel every time you're bringing on a new client or a new employee. And then you're on top of your business. You look like a rock star. You look like you know what you're doing. Because that's pretty much what it is. So then automations. What are the things to automate? You can automate. The first thing I do is 2 things. And this is not in any order. This is in order of my brain. Your contact forms on your website. I have a client. She's using DeSabo, but she still wants the contact form to come to her email because she thinks all of her clients are going to call her. I'm like, girl, it is not going to happen. It is not. She's an interior designer. She's lovely. But I'm like, if I was I'm her ideal client. I don't want to call her on the phone. I'm an introvert. I don't want to talk to you. Hell, I am in the process of moving. So I have to gotta find a new, dentist. I'm like, anybody that has a form, I'm filling out the form. I don't want to call and then they're calling me. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. So your contact form, one of the first things I suggest. Your calendar is the second. No emails back and forth. Oh, does this say work for you? Or does this say, or text. The massage therapist was like that. I'm like, no, just do it online. I don't want to talk to you. The next thing, financials. Get a bookkeeper, QuickBooks, whatever. That's probably the third thing I would do. Because then you can have payments. You're not chasing down payments. They can pay it with their credit card. They can give you a tip with that on your credit card. Signing documents, social media. All of those things can be automated. You still have to put things in there. They can't read your mind. But it is something to take off your plate and let the computer work for you. Let the automation work. Tasks to automate, like I said, here's the different, on your sheet. You've got Xero, Mint, QuickBooks, Tailwind Buffer, 17 Hats, DeSabo, HoneyBook. Yeah, I was going to change it to DeSabo, and I'm like, why? I have HoneyBook. I don't want to have to go through all this again. What was I thinking? Email communication. Are you going to talk about this, that you don't own your social media? Okay. So the reason I have email and communication and MailChimp and Constant Contact, and I use ConvertKit, those people that are on your Facebook page, that are following you on Instagram, you don't own their names. You need to have some kind of form to grab and some kind of communication back to them. So if you don't already have a way to communicate to potential and current clients via an email system, I highly suggest it. Because if Facebook or an Instagram goes down, you've now lost all of your contacts. And then calendar, as I said, it's the number one thing, but it's always last in my book for some reason. Calendly, Time Trade, AccuD, HoneyBook now has a calendar feature. I think DeSabo's coming up with one if they haven't already. Things like that, a way that they can then make those appointments with you. And you can set the days to meet with you. Like, I only have client days a couple days a week. I put that in there, and they can only pick those days. Whatever task, whatever thing they pick, those are the days they choose. They have the choice to choose from. And then outsourcing. These are the top 3 in my book. It's really, after 16 years, I finally hired a VA. I'm like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner? It is really, I'm like, and I have a copywriter, things like that. I was like, things that you don't want to do. It's not in your zone of genius. You can do it, but you don't want to. Those are the top things that you look to see who can do this for me. So, because I can do my bookkeeping and I can do my taxes, but they'd never get done. I could do my social media. I didn't mind that, but I'm like, after my husband passed away, I'm like, dude, I can't think. I can't think. I need somebody to do this for me. And it's great. As I said, virtual assistant, she's starting off with certain things and moving into other projects. So it is something to really consider. As I said, accounting. That's the first suggestion I give. I mean, even this interior designer, she's like, she had a couple different people. I'm like, just talk to this person. She'll do it, and she'll get you all coordinated. And she loves her. So who does your, talk, if you don't have anybody, talk to your friends. See who they use. Talk within the wedding professional group. Who do they use? We all had one person we used for a long time. Social media, as I said, it's controversial. Some people love to do their social media because they feel like it's an extension of them. I don't. I like scrolling. I like looking. I like seeing things, but I don't like doing it. But the people that you hire can be your voice. You give them the information. I still create the content calendar for them, and then they go from there. Creating and send out newsletters. That's a thing I want to hit myself in the head with. I don't want to send that out. I just had one come out today. I'm like, great, there it goes. It's done. Bye. But you're still checking. I mean, unless you have your VA doing that. I still check mine. I still create. I still check in. I still commentate. Still comment on that. And then virtual assistant. I mean, there's a whole long list of things. Ebooks, newsletter setup, blog setup, SEO writing, designing, formatting, infographics, logos, data entry, data mining, video creation and editing. Like you create the video and then I have them do the editing. Webinars, doing this, doing your calendar, setting up and managing webinars and podcasts. If you have a Facebook group, sometimes a VA is doing that, doing the monitoring of that. Marketing, creating the sales pages. I mean, it can go on. And there's if you want a video VA, there's that. There's so many options for you to start taking that. Email management and detox. So, with that, the recap is why. Why should you do this? You are now in control of your own business. It makes you look like a CEO. Because now you are. You are a CEO. When this is done, you're like, man, I'm the boss. I'm it. And everything's in one place. You don't have to go searching through emails or through what's your bookkeeper say, everything is there. It's just all in one. I know, I still have a binder. I still had binder for my clients. I could not get up my binders. I had a wedding for 2020, and I had a binder for them. I'm like, I just can't give it up. But I was very happy to let it go when they decided they weren't going to get married. I'm like, okay, bye. So anyway, with that, questions, thoughts? See, this is the worst to start off with. You guys are all like, dude, I'm ready for a nap. Yes.
I would love just recommend. I'm going to share a limiting belief. I'm not a process girl. So where do you suggest starting in this whole human thing? Really digging in. I'm great at blocking out time. I work on my business. I am so good at all of that stuff. But I start to glaze over on some of this stuff.
It's just one step. It's like eating the frog or eating the giraffe or eating whatever it is. You just have to start. I think I have that as a note. You just have to start and pick one and say, today I'm working on what I do I mean, you don't have to go daily, monthly, weekly. I mean, that's just a great way to kind of in your head. But even just breaking it down by financials. This is what I do in my financial life. This is what I do in my marketing. And just pick a day each week and do it. It's hard. Like I shouldn't say I was excited. I was thrilled in a very bad sense that we had all of a sudden had all this time on our hands last year. But everybody was so effing freaked out. I'm like, this is the perfect time to be working on this. It was the perfect time. And everybody was just like, no, I get it. But the best time to plant the tree is, that saying is, you just have to do it. So pick one and just go from there. Sorry. I wish I could say, here's the magic thing, but it's really just That's why it's the unsexy. That's why no one does it. These are all the reasons. You can, hey, and that's, that's what I do. But, here's the thing, from Tim Harris. I value self-discipline, but creating systems that make it next to impossible to misbehave is more reliable than self-control. Goes back to the cookie and the salad. Yes, ma'am.
My world changes what seems to be like on a daily basis with processes, and I feel like other folks' worlds do as well, like with social media, and all of a sudden you log into Instagram, everything's changed, buttons moved, and where do I find stories now? Do you have any recommendations for a cadence for updating processes or hiring somebody to keep an eye on that so that they get updated? Because I end up doing all that work and
Yeah.
it seems like a colossal waste of my time.
And that might be one, a VA, and two, on a quarterly basis. If it changes that much, you may want to look at it monthly, but quarterly is probably, go back and kind of see when Instagram does those changes or when Facebook does. Is it a certain time of year?
Oh, I wish they'd tell me.
Yeah, no, but if you go back and say, okay, this goes back to the process in my head. It's like, okay, is there a rhythm to how they do it? So then I know I can kind of do that. When you're on the bleeding edge, it's hard. So look at it, have the VA go, okay, is there any changes? Or these are the changes, I'm hearing rumors. VA, you hear things. People hear things, they're like, okay. And then it's the downhill slide from that. But it's not, I would have a VA do that and then put together a packet of like, okay, once a quarter we're going to go through and say, what's the new changes? What do I need to update? And then for, most of us, we're going to be looking at this. I suggest for my wedding professional clients is to, after each wedding, you kind of want to go through and say, what worked, what didn't? What did my processes look like? Did anything break down, or was it a piece of cake? If something broke down, what does that look like? Is it something I need to change now? Like instantaneously? Am I about ready to, is the caterer doing X, Y, and Z that's putting my team in danger? Or is it something that I make a note of it in my process, and then at the end of the year, whenever you do your process change, you then put it into your process? It's kind of like your contract. You want to review your contract every year. Is there something instantaneous that you need to change now because a bad vendor, client, whatever, I need to change this now, or can it wait? So yearly, quarterly is going to be more advantageous, but if it's something that's really going to bug you, change it now. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Can I just add a note on that? Because I'm similar about processes, and what I love is Loom. So
Yes.
for my team, what I find is, because I'm not process oriented, if you say go write it out and map it out, I'm
Yep.
like, no. But if I have a conversation with someone, I can easily
Yes.
record an audio message and say, okay, when this happens, I do X, Y, Z, and then I do this, and then I can hand it off to
Yes.
the VA to say, you turn it into a
Yes.
process, or I do them real time. So to your point, if you do something once, build a process around it. So what I will do is, I just have a habit of when I'm working to do Loom, so I just, or whatever you have on your
Yep.
computer, just a screen capture.
Yep.
And it's much easier for me to record myself doing something and then send it to a team member to build a process than it is for me, because I don't like system. If you say it's a system, I'm
Yes.
not gonna wanna do it. But if you just record me working, then you build the process.
Yep.
from
Yep. Loom is great. I know a lot of other director of operations that do that. Finally, I lost it. Oop, there we go. If you want to set up a clarity call with me, come see me or click on I have that on my computer as well. You can set up a time to chat. So, yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, if you're not sure about the type of system you wanna use, one thing that also helped me is just whiteboarding it out, or putting it on a sticky note, that way you can move things around, color code them.
Yep.
That has been super helpful, and just going into Google Sheets and writing it out.
Yeah, any of those taking those, big, huge white space and a bunch of pink and yellow and green and polka dotted sticky notes and just start going to town. So with that, I want to thank you. There's all my information and a very old picture. Thank you.